Happy Monday, January 9th. That's right. I'm trying to remember. I'm Rebecca Johnson. We would like to give a shout out to Kristen Rabell, who is out in Las Vegas helping her sister, but we brought Cyan with me today, and she is from the K&R Property Management team, an essential part of the K&R Property Management team. So, and this is her first podcast with us. So it's a K&R Property Management takeover.
Yes.
So, anyways, tell us what you do at K&R Property Management, Cyan.
Well, I am K&R's admin assistant, and I do all the leasing, and I prepare a lot of the owner documents. If you ever become a new owner, you would be speaking with me directly.
Perfect. Love it. So our first topic, so everything's going to be property management themed this year this show. Sorry. So the very first thing that Cyan and I kind of wanted to address was arbitrage. I don't know how many people are familiar with it. We are pretty familiar with the term in property management. And go ahead, Cyan, tell us a little bit about arbitrage.
Well, for those of you who didn't know what arbitrage was, because I didn't, it is when you want to go ahead and rent out one of the properties and then rent it out from yourself. Basically, like what, Airbnb?
An Airbnb or a short-term rental, or they could even do a long-term. But yeah, so this was popping up all of our leases. So if you're one of our tenants, it exclusively says you cannot have a short-term rental or other rental. You can't even sublease a room without talking with us first. And basically what was happening was all over the country, people, and God bless them, figured out a way to cheat the system. They were renting a property, we'll say for $2,000 a night, and then they would essentially sublease it, but they call it short-term rental, Airbnb, VBRO. They would rent it out to others coming to the area and make a profit. And I know cities like New York and San Francisco were having problems because people were collecting 10, 15, 20 properties and doing this on, which just is not cool to the property manager. I mean, I think it puts a lot of strain and stress. I kind of think of it as like a corporate lease where you don't know who's in there, what's going on. What are some other things or reasons why we don't like that in the K&R world?
Well, then you don't know who to go ahead and evict if that ever became a process, because there's a different person living there than who signed the lease.
Yep. They don't have a lease agreement. If there's an emergency and you need in the apartment, you're not contacting the correct person. So you're seeing more and more where property management companies or rental companies are making sure there are exclusions in the lease so that you can't arbitrage. I mean, there are some great properties that we manage that would probably be perfect for little Airbnb rentals or short-term rentals, but unfortunately, that's a decision the owner gets to make, not the person that's renting it out, because even subleasing, you have to get permission. You have to go through the application process, sign a lease. We just don't want people running off and doing whatever they want. So I do want to talk a little bit about the rental market, because we are seeing a lot of things happen in terms of properties coming on. How do you feel like things are going? Are you feeling like more owners are coming on that had tried to sell, or do you feel like people are buying more investment properties? What are you seeing, since you do work with a lot of our owners?
Well, I feel like we've had a little bit of both. Even the past 2 months, like we just have 2 new owners coming on that have failed in the sales side, so they're wanting to now rent. And then we have people who just called today who want to buy more investment properties. So I feel like we're seeing a little bit more of half and half. So
I do think that's definitely what we're experiencing. I know I met with a woman last week, and she had tried to sell last fall for 6 months, if I recall, is what she told me, and we didn't have any luck. So she's actually going to go on the rental market. And so for all the realtors out there that are watching, if you have somebody that you've been working with and they've been trying to sell and it's just not happening, and they want to take a year to see what's going to happen with the market or the interest rates, this would be an excellent time to reach out to K&R Property Management. We would be happy to talk with them, talk with you, work together to make it all sort of work for what their financial needs and goals are. in terms of that. But after arbitrage, I forget. I'm sorry, and I don't see the other slide up. You're good. There we go. Oh, yes. Your favorite. Things we need to know and why when you're filling out your application. Can you give us a couple of examples?
Well, income.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
What can we say?
So to give you some context of this, we thought this would be a fun topic because we get, especially this time of year when a lot of the students are coming in, and people are filling out applications, we get a lot of resistance on telling us certain things. Income is one of them. Why do you feel like it? I feel like you probably hear the most excuses.
I just feel like because, well, it's mainly the parents right now, especially because we're dealing with student rentals the most right now, is the parents who make a little bit extra and like some of them do the Airbnbs, some of them do, I want to say
own
others.
Businesses.
Yeah, they own businesses. They don't want to put that on the application and reflect how much they make. Or what was the other one that we just had recently? It was another parent. It was like IRS fraud or something like that.
Yeah, they were worried about identity theft and things. So, and our application process is encrypted and secured. We go through a major carrier to make sure we have insurance to cover for that. But yeah, it's not that we're being difficult. We have to have social security numbers, and we don't even get them. They go into the system and it's redacted for us. So we don't even see your social security number, but we have to have that information in there so that when we do the credit check, because we're checking for a multitude of things: credit, background, rental history, work history, are you paying your bills on time? So it helps us when we can verify that your income is actually what you say it is. I mean, we had a couple applications come in and they said they were making $70,000 a month. And then put NA for employment. And so I had to call and ask some questions. It's not that I'm being difficult or nosy. I get accused of being nosy frequently. And I
think it's funny that it's that way when they're like, oh, I could send you a screenshot of our bank statements or like my bank account. I could show you that I can afford it, but you don't want to give us your income verification stuff.
I know. It's probably like lenders' experience with loans. And I totally get it. Because sometimes like when you're going through the housing purchase process, they ask you for a lot of documents and it feels intrusive. I totally understand that, but we're not doing it to be difficult. We're doing it because we actually do need certain things to verify. One, you are who you say you are, and two, that you can in fact pay for it. And I'm going to put a caveat on that because I feel like even though I verify your income, nothing stops you from quitting your job 2 days after you sign the lease, other than, the fear of me calling you and harassing you for your rent. So, but anyways, there are just certain things we need to know. Nobody's trying to pick on you or be mean to you. I think the other thing I want to add on things we need to know and why, and you deal with this a lot, why do tenants have to present us with a letter that shows they had GRU put into their name? Not just GRU, but Clay Electric or utilities put into their name.
Well, then, because 99% of the time, the owner of the property is what the utility is put under, is the owner's name. So if you don't give us the confirmation letter or any property management in general, you're basically using the owner's name and using all of their utilities and not basically paying for it.
It's harder to collect, and most utility companies will not turn off the power if somebody is occupying the property, and they can tell that pretty easily because the meter runs. So I think that it is important to understand that, we're just looking out for everybody's best interest. And if you're one of our owners, I know how many of them appreciate all the detail and work that you put into everything that you do to protect their largest asset. So if any realtors are out there watching and they have any questions, please feel free to drop them below in the comments, and we will get to those as quick as we can. I think we're going to take a quick break, if that's okay. All right. Hey, Rebecca Johnson and Kristen Rabell with K&R Property Management, and we're here to tell you about the full service management that we offer at K&R PM. So people often ask us, what does full service mean? That means that we're going to procure a qualified tenant for you by running background checks, vetting them. We're going to prepare leases and documents. We're going to perform inspections. We're going to handle the bookkeeping and accounting side of that for you, so that you just sit back, relax, and get a paycheck.
Hey, Rebecca Johnson and Kristen Rabell with K&R Property Management, and we're here to tell you about the full service management that we offer at K&R PM. So people often ask us, what does full service mean? That means that we're going to procure a qualified tenant for you by running background checks, vetting them. We're going to handle the bookkeeping and accounting side of that for you, so that you just sit back, relax, and get a paycheck.
welcome back. The breaks are much shorter on the property management videos than we're used to. Okay, so we have one more scheduled topic, and then one person actually sent in a message to us about another topic that is important, so we will go into that. First, we're going to start with why it's important to pay my rent, and then if you're out there listening and are wondering what the next one is, it'll be about ESA animals, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So, Cyan, why is it important to pay your rent?
I feel like it's, one, because you are paying for where you're staying at.
Correct.
And two, so that way after the 5th, you don't start accumulating late fees.
Well, that's a good point. So when in America are 99% of leases due?
On the 1st of every month.
The 1st of every month.
It does not matter when you sign. You could have signed
Correct.
the 15th or the 20th. Rent
Correct.
is still due on the 1st.
Rent is due on the 1st. I really don't know anywhere else that does that. Even if you move on the 6th, 7th, 8th, whenever, your rent is always due on the 1st. Yes, we are seeing some increases. I don't think they're as drastic. No, I'm just kidding. I make up words. I don't think it's as big of an increase as we've seen the last couple years. But to be fair to that, rents weren't really going up a whole lot during COVID. So then I will say 12 months prior to today, we did do a larger increase on most of our properties because they hadn't had an increase in several years. This year, we've had it much more where I would say what is normal. One, for affordability factors, if you're in Alachua County and the city of Gainesville in particular, they have a lot of renters' rights acts happening, and that is adding to the cost of the rental properties. Oh man, we could talk about that. Hi, Kristen. Of course you are. We would not expect anything else. So I think, thank you, Amanda. So the saying for paying your rent is if you pay, you stay. If you don't, you won't. We use that in closings also for mortgages. But if you're, or most of your renters. So no, they're not. We actually have a pretty strong portfolio of 50-50, I would say. Yeah. We have a strong presence for UF properties all around the university, all the way down to Williston, up north towards up 13th, down to downtown area. And then we do have some other rentals that are closer off of 62nd. So, but we don't just see... even though a property is close to UF, it doesn't mean that it's just a student. We see a lot of young professionals, professors, people who like that walkability factor. And really anything almost can be an investment property. But I will say my favorites are ones with walkability scores of 75 or higher. I know that sounds silly, but like people who can walk and go places seem to be happier. So just something food for thought for those of you thinking about investing. So why is it important to pay your rent on time? One, Rebecca and Cyan won't come looking for you and posting notices on your door. Or Brandy. That's right. Shout out to Brandy, who actually posts the notices. I know. Love you, Brandy. And we appreciate everything that you do. But the other reason is if you don't pay your rent by the 2nd or the 3rd, depending how the weekdays fall, you're typically going to get what they call a notice to cure. And that means you pay your rent by this date. Otherwise, we start to file the eviction process, which does stay on your record. It's 8 to 10 years. I've seen some that have been on there longer. But let me tell you what that does for you as a tenant. If I pull your credit history and I see that they've ever had to start an eviction process against you, you're 99% of the time precluded from renting that property. I'm not going to rent it to you because I assume that you're probably going to be a problem. Now, there are some special circumstances and different things that we'll look at or hear the case, like it was a mistaken identity and different things. So, hey, Brandy. We appreciate Brandy. She does all the running and posts all those notices. So send your hate mail to Brandy no, I'm just joking. But yeah, so paying your rent is important. It goes on your credit. It shows that you're... That's right. If you don't, we can't pay the owners. Oh, but yeah. It does. Cyan's most important job is paying the owners. Mostly, to me, the most important reason to pay your rent on time is because you made a financial obligation and vouched for it. And this is how I explain it to so many tenants. You, for relatively a small amount of cash are moving into somebody's largest asset, typically, or one of their larger assets. I mean, yes, you're having to bring $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, but it costs significantly more to replace that property. So asking you to pay your rent on time and take care of it and do things that you would to ensure the safety of the property is not too much to ask. Now, we did have a question about ESA animals, and I know that's Cyenne's favorite topic.
No,
it's not. What is an ESA animal?
It is an emotional support animal.
And are we allowed to charge a deposit or pet rent?
We are not. They are considered an extent of who you are.
That's right. So ESAs are protected under the Fair Housing. So basically, and what this means, if you're not familiar with the term, it's actually quite controversial because literally anything could be an ESA. There are stories out of like California of people having peacocks and alligators and mini horses. And, basically to verify an ESA animal, we are allowed to ask for reasonable and reliable proof. And so what do we ask for?
We ask for a letter from the doctor that you're seeing, and it has to be within the same year.
Yes. If you're actively seeing somebody, they have to name the animal. And I just say animal. I would say probably 80% of them are dogs or cats or,
yes.
We don't see too many. I think sometimes we've seen like a rabbit.
I think one chameleon we've had.
One chameleon.
Yeah.
He's so snuggly. I saw one of those. They're very unusual looking with their big old eyes. But I think ESAs are an interesting topic. There's something that I saw. I had been in real estate for many, many years and never had to deal with this until really recently. And, owners always ask us, what can we do? Are you allowed to say no? Because I think one time we had 4 like enormous dogs in one small house, and each dog had the letter, from the actively seen licensee stating that they were there for whatever symptom or issue. And the news for owners, you kind of are. Now that's all I'm going to see. I'm going to be like, Princess Leia.
I knew I should have done my buns today. I knew it.
Anyways, unfortunately for the owners, the only way to, first of all, let me put this in here. We will connect you and have you talk with an attorney. We are not attorneys on this, but it is our understanding that you would have to have your attorney prepare a letter as an owner if you were not willing to have an ESA that shows that it would be a financial burden and hardship on you to cover the cost of insurance or whatever issue it was, but that we could never deny an ESA. So, and we have had situations where ESAs are a popular topic. So I will say out there for all of you that have emotional support animals, you still are obligated under the lease to keep the property in good condition. You cannot allow it to destroy the unit, cause damage to it. If it does, you're responsible ultimately for it. So it's not a free pass, but it definitely is more regimented through the state. Or actually federally. I'm sorry, not through the state. Sorry, typo in my brain. What else do you feel like people should know about renting properties? What do you feel like are some common questions from owners when it comes to getting their property on the market? I feel like they always want to know where we're going to market it.
Oh, yeah, where?
Where do we market it?
How much sometimes? Usually you determine that based on location and what you see on.
Very similar to real estate. We do it kind of what we call a CMA, only it's for rental pricing and look what's going on in the area. And I think the condition and location of your home are probably or property are the primary factors in that.
I think how fast we can get it rented is another big question.
Yes. And this time of year, I say if you're coming on, you're probably looking at a 2 to 3 week. So we have had longer, like we had some condos come on in October, and it does take a lot longer that time of year. We do have a rental season. Like most of our student rentals are already released for next August, which is just mind blowing.
Yes.
So, Let's see here. What else? What is one of the more common buyer questions? I'm sorry, not buyer. Oh my goodness.
I was like, not me.
Tenant questions.
Maintenance.
Maintenance. What's the process for maintenance at K&R Property Management?
So at K&R Property Management, you have a tenant portal, and all maintenance questions or requests go through your tenant portal. That's how quickly we could get it to a vendor, is as long as you put it through your portal.
Yes. And actually, so I had somebody write me on Saturday night. She had a pipe burst. She did put it through the portal, but then she texted me. And good question. We'll talk about that. And we were immediately able to get somebody over there that night and take care of the pipe and get their water back on and close out the work order and everything. So we do care about our residents and tenants. We want them to have a positive experience. We want them to know that we do want things to run smoothly for them. So the cost, I saw that question pop up, and it really depends on your property and how many you have. We do have different rates for different amounts of properties. Obviously, if you're one single property, it does tend to run a little higher. But the good news is after you buy more investment property with your real estate agent at Rabell Realty Group, it does start to go down. So one other thing that we try really hard to do is if we are referred an owner from a realtor, we do put their information in the system so that if we ever get wind that they do want to sell, we try to push them back over to that realtor. So we don't do sales under K&R Property Management. We are strictly property management over here. So that is one thing. Could you imagine if we tried to add that? I do want to plug one other thing. You kill me. Princess Leia over here is killing me. Cyan, I do want you to plug our video series that we did. We did 11 videos for tenants about education. So you have to go tell them where to find it and what they're about.
You want me to list the
videos I would just give them some ideas. Sure. Where can they find it?
On our YouTube. Mm-hmm. What is it? YouTube.com/KNRPM.
Yep.
.com.
That's right.
Alrighty, perfect. So that's where you're going to find those videos. And a few of those videos are how to clean the lint trap. How to clean your lint trap in your dryer, in case you didn't know where that was. How to replace a light bulb.
A very common question.
How to locate a GCFI and how to, reset it?
Reset it, yeah.
Reset it. And how to find your breaker box. Mm-hmm. And how to turn off your toilet or water.
Or the water that's running. Oh, yeah, we probably should do one for sinks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So these are all common things. We have like 11 of them, but we put them on our YouTube page. We're actually starting our TikTok page, so they'll be rolling out on there as well. Basically, we want our tenants to know how to do maintenance and to take care of the property.
Yeah, especially for our student rentals is their first time moving out of their own home.
And we totally get that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we totally understand that, and that it's a new thing and that you don't know. But
little tips and tricks.
Tips and tricks or troubleshooting. Anytime I have somebody that's having issues, I try to send them the troubleshooting videos and say, if this doesn't work, I'll come by and take a look. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But we really are trying to educate our tenants so that we can better serve our owners. I mean, it's all kind of cyclical in that way. Better tenants equal better, happier owners, which equals more properties for Cyan. Cyan Leia. I don't know. I think we're going to keep this Princess Leia thing. I like it. So, all right. Well, thus concludes today. That wasn't so bad, was it?
No, not at all.
It goes very quickly. All right. So I'm going to let you talk about K&R Property Management.
No.
Okay. Are you tired of being a leasing agent, accountant, repairman, inspector, landlord? Cyan is here to help you. You can reach her at 352-213-6410. Please wait till after the show. Do you want to do the join the team? I'm going to join the team. Fine. Are you a real estate agent that's looking for a fun group of realtors and brokers and staff members and team people to get involved and be excited about real estate? You can reach out to us at 352-559-8820 or join at buysellrebell.com. Can't get enough of Kristen and Rebecca and the whole Rabell Realty Group crew. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Google My Business, and of course our YouTube channel. Oh, goodness. This is a lot of work. Kristen, hurry back. Did you know we have a blog? We do. You can find all kinds of great real estate information. I know it's time to start talking about homestead exemption, so that blog will be on there. All sorts of things. So you can find us at buysellrebell.com/blog. And we'd like to thank the Fiesta Media for putting on this podcast and all of our other podcasts. If you would like to have a podcast of your own, you can reach out to them at 352-327-5089. Thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you later. See you. Bye.